Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Hab and this is the Somua SM. Forgive the potential pronunciation gaffes, but I am not willing to learn. This is a tier 8 French premium heavy tank, and as French tanks often do, it arrives with an autoloader. I have often heard that this tank is described as a more beefy, more heavy AMX 5100, and to an extent it is true. I like autoloaders a lot. The Brask is one of my favorite tanks in the game. The flexibility of the Progetto 46 is excellent, especially thanks to its autoreloader, and the Defender Mark 1 is a good example of an autoloader as well. This, I feel, is a more conflicting example of such a tank, and in this video I hope to tell you why I think that is the case. The gun is relatively simple. It is the exact same gun as the top one on the AMX 5100. The SA-47 is pretty good on paper, especially with the equipment changes nowadays. The penetration is superb at 251 AP, 276 APCR, and 54 HE. The Alpha at 310 is also decent enough, and you're packing 3 shells. Not to mention, the Somua has a big advantage over the AMX in one department, and that is the gun depression. The AMX has 6, and the Somua has 10. This helps immensely in terms of terrain positioning and makes the Somua far more versatile in its map viability. I do like it when my tanks are flexible. Don't take it the wrong way, please. The Somua, however, has a big disadvantage compared to the AMX that elaborates on my point from the start, and that is the accuracy. The aim time difference is minor, but what is a little bit much is the dispersion. If you're not running the refined gun, the AMX has 0.317, the Somua has 0.344. With autoloaders like these, you want every single shot to count, and missing one hurts the Somua especially bad, because the reload time is quite underwhelming at nearly 23 seconds. These two factors make me not really play the Somua often at all. In conclusion, the gun is good, but is held back considerably by the dispersion and the reload time. This is why I run the refined gun on the Somua. The armor is actually pretty good for a French tank. You are an absolute menace to most tier 7 tanks that you can find, and a lot of tier 8 tanks will also struggle to go through anywhere else than the cupola on top of the oscillating turret or the lower plate. Keep in mind that the machine gun placement on the turret is not a weak spot. The lower plate is always weak, as the nominal value is barely 90mm, but the entire upper plate is 155mm and very well angled. You're looking at nearly 230mm of effective armor there, if you don't angle it. Angling actually isn't too bad an idea, as you have 90mm of side armor, and you can get away with angling a little bit aggressively. There is a very small weak point right below the gun that is around 150mm flat, but it is very difficult to actually hit, and it does get invalidated if you move the turret around a lot. With a lot of these autoloaders, the actual, well, turret bit that lifts up during elevation turns into a weak spot, but here it is still around 190mm. A tier 7 will still struggle. This is a genuinely welcome chunky French tank to play, especially if you're a proper bruiser and like autoloaders. Just be careful with the lower plate and the cupola. The mobility is actually not bad either. The engine has massive amounts of power, around 1100 with full equipment, which results in you having nearly 16 horsepower per ton. You weigh almost 70 tons, but it really doesn't feel much like that, as your top speed is 40, and the reverse speed is pretty good at -18. The tracked reverse is just about acceptable at around 33 degrees, and the turret turns at a similar rate. Overall, the mobility is surprisingly decent. So, well, let's go through the pros and cons before I show you a replay. So, the pros: good armor, decent mobility, and great gun depression. And the cons: a long reload and inconsistent accuracy. I would say if you're looking for a tier 8 heavy that isn't Russian, The Somua is a decent buy. It's kind of conventional, excluding the autoloader mechanic, but I feel that the versatility it can offer with its gun depression would be very welcome. Personally, it is not really a tank for me, especially due to the accuracy bit and the long reload though. It makes me a little queasy. If they have above the overall reload by like a second, the Somua will be a pretty easy recommendation. Anyway, without further ado, let's look at a replay. Alright, I bet you didn't expect this map to come up in a replay. We're on mines. I'm having a beer, just, a little bit of a relax, a little bit of a wind down while I try and tell you why I find the Samoa a little bit frustrating. Maybe you'll see a little bit of that in this replay. It kind of depends anyway. So, where do we start? Of course we start at the right, but where do we start with this tank, really? So, for me, because it has this great gun depression, the obvious answer is to go for the hill. That's what I do with a lot of tanks, but in general, something with gun depression like this, you really should abuse the terrain. It will hide the lower plate, and granted your cupola will be still visible, but a smaller target is always better. So anyway, here I was looking a little bit for an easy start. Turns out nobody actually went here, but the FV is here, excuse me. And see, that's the first whiff. That's more... I would say that's more caused by the aim time rather than dispersion in this case, and I immediately had to burn my multi-kit because I think it was the gunner or the loader was just gone. So we're already not at a great start where we lost 800 hit points, and that's, again, if we take a look, that's mostly because they actually hit the cupolas there. I actually can't remember if the machine gun weak spot there is truly a weak spot or not. I have mentioned it in the script, and when I tried it in replays, it didn't actually deal any damage, but, feel free to correct me in case I'm wrong. So here we punish a super pushing a little bit. That's what I think this does the best. Absolute punishment, and then we pull back, because even a KV-3 could be a decent threat to our armor if he knows where to aim. So, right now, it's not looking too good. And if you look at the back of the map, we have our classic trio of tank destroyers that have barely left spawn. It's mines, after all. But for me, really, the biggest bummer about the Somua, it has to be that reload. The dispersion and, the overall accuracy you can kind of cover if you just abuse the refined gun a little bit. But this reload is not something that you can easily get rid of. It is a problem. 24 seconds is just simply, for me at least, too long. If it were 21.5 or 22, I think it would be better, but 24 is a little bit much. The battle really is not going in our favor, as you can see. The remaining tank near the cap is just disintegrating, and here it's left all up to us. So, at this point I have a defeatist attitude, and I just go, I'll try and rack some more damage in. If I die, so be it. However, the KV-3 was a little bit silly, and so he messed up, and I immediately thought, well, I hope he's gonna reverse a little bit beyond the hill, and here comes the Super Hellcat. So, the Super Hellcat had the unfortunate idea of actually peeking out, and immediately gets ammo racked. So, that's one worry off my back, and the CC-56 is also gone. What remains then is the CC-64, which is actually a problem, but here you can utilize a little bit of the terrain to, help conceal yourself and hide a little bit of that weak spot. Now here I'm pretty sure he could still see my lower plate, but it did not really work out for him anyway. And all of a sudden, we're on equal footing, I'm 3k damage in, and only just then I get smacked when I actually peek out. And the CC makes a critical mistake here, in that he actually tried to, run a little bit. I then mess up the last shot, and weren't it for that silence, I would have been dead. Now I have to actually defend the base, and I think this is where the Somua wins a lot of its points back, because it is decently mobile. You can see this, we're already near the cap, despite this thing weighing nearly 70 tons. And here's the T-77, and that is it. The battle's over. I'm not gonna try and kill him, I'm just trying to distract him. There we go. And it's over. It's over. Easy as that. So there we are, 4.2k damage. 1900 blocked, which, considering the start of the replay, you would have figured I would have blocked a whole lot less, but here we are anyway. So, what to say about the Somua? For me, it's conflicting, and for a lot of other people really do enjoy this tank. I personally am still very much ambivalent towards it. I'll play it, but, you know, I won't be too happy about it simply due to that long reload time. So anyway, that is gonna be it for me for this video. You know the usual stuff. If you like the video somehow, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Check out my Ko-Fi, check out my Discord, and as always, I'll see you all later. Hopefully a little bit sooner than later, but anyway, see ya.